as well, but they're like, nah, we're not going to pick Zeri. EDG just given over Zeri lyric. And we've seen a lot of the time taken into the Kalista matchup, no worries. Well.
And now EDG going towards the Draven. Also, just to go to AL really quickly, I'm kind of speculating it just sets up for the Amumu to come out because that's what they love doing.
Yeah.
Wukong now picked up for Junjia, and EDG wanting to match that aggression down in the bot lane, but also getting the priority jungler. So for AL, we kind of already hit on Chocho really just loving going towards that Amumu, really being the initiator for the side of AL, being able to find these fight setups and get things going. And then, like, I mean, they could look towards jungle, right? We still have things like the Pantheon left open. Even if things like Lee Sin we haven't seen like fall out a little bit, or the Viego both still there. And yeah, I was gonna say you could blind pick mid, but not too many options left open that Forge has really gravitated towards. But still, they're gonna say, hey, it's better we get our hands on something like the Ahri than leave EDG to pick mid on 3 and then let them ban out even more if Forge is champions.
But Scout just looks at it and go, well, I do play Lissandra, right? Like Xiaohao, like any other mid laner in the league, this is just going to come through as a natural response.
And now, for EDG still not having a support under their belt, actually, yeah, no support under their belt for the side of AL, not having a jungler. So EDG going to take away the Trundle. It's not actually something I forgot to mention, right, that we've been seeing come into prominence, something that does incredibly well into the Trundle as well, being able to take away those resistances. And we saw what the Pillar was able to do last time around. So for EDG, I mean, you could set up very easily to be able to just get, you know, your kind of generic support matchup on 4 with Renata now taken off the table and save that counter pick for Flandre and topside.
Meiko last time around, it was the... no, it was actually Chocho on the Nautilus. But last time around, what did we get, Lyric? What was that bottom lane?
We'd Braum come out from Meiko in game 2. I mean, realistically, right, if they wanted to, they could even just look to run that back and have that kind of disengage and safety for Viper there, because you're already set up with more than enough engage coming out from jungle and mid.
Okay, well, engage, counter-engage, the ability to keep Draven alive, run it back for round number 2. And all I can say to you, Lyric, is I'm excited to see what Flandre picks up as a counter up in the top side, because we've seen Flandre recently. Things like the Yone top, the Jax, the Rivens come out this split. Flandre has a plethora of champions, and to take it into ZDZ, let's hope it's a spicy one.
So, we get the Viego coming out, and on this patch in LPL, Viego is 1-7. We're really seeing him struggle. I feel like we're seeing a lot of junglers that bring utility, that bring CC Thrive, and we're seeing comps less about having enough burst and having enough damage to really be able to set up for the resets for Viego. But Gwen locked in as well. You were hitting on the Jax for Flandre. Definitely in the wheelhouse. Again, they already have kind of enough engage on lock. Would give them a lot of pressure inside, especially as we go later on for Flandre dealing with ZDZ.
And how many times have we seen Jax taken into Gwen this split, honestly? A lot of players finding it comfortable as well as... Yep, there we go. Flandre on the Jax. So we get 2 bonus picks here in the Draven, the Jax coming through, Lyric. And this is a different vibe, considering that we have a lot more side laning for EDG in this second game.
And only Flandre's second time picking it up this split.
Yep.
Flandre has played literally everything throughout his career. Played the Malzahar top, played the Azir top. You know he can function on any champion that he is able to bring out. And for EDG, having that same aggressive bot lane this time around, but I think having a lot more opportunity to influence with mid-jungle. Scout still will also be able to look for some advantageous trades. And maybe even set up ganks for Junjia and then use that to lean down towards bot. Flandre could be able to be very self-sufficient unless, you know, we see the over-aggression come out from ZDZ.
Or maybe even, you know, the roams come through from Ahri at 6, right? For Forge, getting across the map and kicking Flandre before he's down. But there's a lot of action to be seen. There's a lot of, I was going to say, a lot of potential to snowball from both teams here, Lyric. I feel like once a gold lead starts, they're both comps that are hard to keep down from progressing and just running over the game.
I feel like when I look at both of them too, the difference is they can like start from different places. I think Junjia having a little bit more out, like can look bot straight away, but I think would have a lot more confidence looking mid with the amount of lockdown that Scout has. So for AL, it also just all leads to the bot lane. When you pick the Kalista Amumu, typically being a lot about these all-ins. So we're gonna see if AL this time around, getting their hands on their most comfortable bot lane duo, can actually find a win. You've been hitting on it all day so far, which all day's been an hour long, that it's all about game difference for AL. So even one win would put them in a better spot when it looks like a lot of teams are going to end up on 7 series wins.
Anyone's legend in the worst position, but also they're the makers of their own fate. That's what matters, because a lot of other teams like LNG have to sit back and hope. BLG the same as well, excuse me. EDG, you know, they made their own fate. They made their bed. They went out for the day. They went out, had a cup of coffee, came back and made lunch. Like, they've been making their own fate for a while. It's like 4 p.m. for them. And so you look at this team and you're like, yeah, they're going to be in playoffs. They're going to be up in that second round. But just how far are they going to go, Lyric? Just how far are they going to go? That's what most people want to ask, because for EDG, it has been a rougher split than some would expect. Summer has left a lot of questions. People want to know, are EDG actually going to be able to return to their title and defend their title, I should say, at this year's Worlds?
So, EDG, makers of their own fate.
Nice.
So, what does that mean for AL?
Well, they also make their own fate. We don't just have one team who makes fate, you know?
Really?
Yeah. Dude, people make... Well, I mean, AL win. They're in playoffs. I feel like that makes up a pretty nice piece of fate, don't you?
Yeah, that's true. And for AL, I love what they're doing already. They're looking for this aggressive play in bot side jungle, but EDG...
Yeah,
we're not... Oh, wait, but maybe...
Viper's just starting up the Gromp himself. Tries to threaten Xiaohao and slow it down, but the bottom wave is there. EDG, Viper, and Meiko are going to all in onto Xiaohao. One of the first times I've seen this, as Meiko doesn't get the Winter's Bite, so Xiaohao is forced out. But Lyric, they missed 3 minions for this, maybe even more.
And we can already see Chocho and Betty having some experience under their belt, so should be able to look for that level 2 and try and find some semblance of an advantage for themselves. But Junjia already going to be on the bottom half of the map, so maybe EDG actually look for a bit of a cheeky gank in bot side.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have any wards in river either, so it would go unspotted. I'm not sure if he was spotted on the ward that he crossed over to get to Wolves. You would assume he is, so AL should have an idea that he's on this half of the map. And by have an idea, I mean they should have seen him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a quick moment where we'll know it's been confirmed as Flandre hits 2 in the top side first. Lethal tempo actually taken up here, Lyric, which is interesting, but never mind that. What's more interesting is the bottom side, as Winter's Bite was the start with Ignite down, Bandage toss flashed away from Betty and Chocho. You knew they were going to try and take the all-in with the level advantage.
All of this coming from that level 1 where Viper and Meiko almost able to turn on Xiaohao, but the fact that they weren't able to, and we start seeing that experience lead stack up for AL. Looks like AL might be looking for a play on bot side themselves. Meiko's very low. Maybe you can try and burst him out in time, but they're going to have to be careful because even Betty, being half HP, Viper's still full. Yeah. I think this could be a little bit dicey. Ignite
is down too. We saw on the last players, Meiko should have the wall available. He's bandage tossed up and dead at the start. Viper hitting them back as Junjia here at the right time, and Flandre TPing in. What a flash! With the Counter-Strike down, they bring Scout as well. Never one for EDG without the others.
EDG going to be able to guarantee this kill to Xiaohao. Not even losing too much elsewhere on the map. We can see now, Scout just lost 1 minion. He's going to get back and be able to clear out the rest. Flandre looks like he'll lose a little bit, but still, you've kept your bot lane alive. They're still tremendously down in CS, which is rough, but Junjia getting a brunt of those kills. EDG finding a pretty nice start to this game once again.
It was a shame that Viper didn't get the kill, but hey, gold back in favor of EDG. A 2-kill start on Junjia. And the fact that that TP played worked, the commitment from EDG, Lyric, was about what you'd expect with the ward here doing quite a bit of work.
Yeah, we're going to see, so they show the ward spotting him out, him heading up towards that top side. But I guess that's why they don't expect him to just wrap right back down around, right?
Yeah.
And then the fact that the other 2 members able to commit these TPs. Chocho does land the bandage toss, and they did have the burst to take him out right away. Once these other members start coming through, you know, it is in a very rough position for AL.
And we just watched the chase down here as well. It's easy as you'd like. Junjia with a huge 5-head on the pathing. This is why we talked a lot about the jungler. You know, the early aggression, Lyric, his numbers inflated? I don't think so. Proving their point in a Game 2 against anyone's legend.
It does look like, since AL got the dive, right, they crashed their wave in, that they were holding their wave in a pretty decent spot for quite a while, as Forge might go down.
Scout's going to be rooted up. There's a good charm, though, onto Junjia. The flash away from the burst damage out of this Wukong, though, is going to come through as Chocho gets yet another engage. Meiko standing in front of the flash is committed by Betty. He's got the never move, though. The breakable is now what it's called, as Betty gets the kill, and anyone's legend bot, Lyric. I'm glad you talked about the wave crashing in. Like, Viper's at 14 CS and now down a kill.
I mean, denied the whole like first few waves from Viper. They were holding the wave after the play came out, and now they're just able to keep this advantage going. Meiko not respecting the amount of damage, able to come out from the AL bot lane. And I mean, Betty probably going to be sitting on a pretty respectable back and start building up a huge item lead, right? And then you can just constantly look for these plays on rinse and repeat, just constantly keep going in. You know you're going to be able to win out in 2v2s. Then it's going to be a lot down to jungles and mid laners trying to react and salvage the situation.
We talked a lot about, for anyone's legend, you know, this bottom lane needs to go right. There's a Kalista, there's an Amumu. We've seen some pretty atrocious games from QiuQiu, but also spectacular on the other end. Set up for success here. As you mentioned, the buy from Betty. We do only have a double longsword, but it's a double longsword with Berserker Greaves versus triple longsword here from Viper. So, feels pretty good, especially when, Lyric, you're not the only other lane that's doing that well. You look at top side, even with Flandre catching this wave, there's a sizable CS lead for ZDZ after Flandre committed his TP too.
Exactly, right? It's all down to that play that he made in the bot lane, just giving ZDZ the freedom to get that wave in, and him, you know, not being able to get up towards top side as much as Scout was towards mid. And Scout, I mean, kind of just looking at CS advantages across the board, right? Being the one place where EDG have found a bit of an advantage, not losing too much out on his TP towards spot. But we've been hitting on for EDG that, you know, looking towards mid first could be a bit of a play. Forge does have Unsealed Spellbook, so has the cleanse for any CC that comes out. But you've already gotten his flash down. Scout has ult up, and Junjia's very close to 6.
And Scout's actually in a great position. I mean, not like the others. Flandre might be down, but Scout up in CS, gets a crash in mid. And now we look at the top side gank as Flandre's going to get needlework to start off. He leap strikes away. ZDZ wants to target him down, but the last piece of the resistance, my French, absolutely garbage, is not going to connect either. So ZDZ having priority, and you don't even need Xiaohao in the end as you push in the way.
I gotta say though, considering you're Australian, I don't think the expectation is for you to have amazing French. If you did, it'd be impressive. Your Mandarin, actually very impressive.
It's getting there. Actually,
mine a little bit subpar.
It's okay, dude. I mean, look, to be fair, you know, you lived in Asia for a while, and I mean, actually, wait, we both did. We did work, you know, in Shanghai. That was a time ago. It's been a hot minute. Hang on a minute. Glacial Path's going to be used in the mid lane. I'm going to pause on the throwback story because Dragon looked like it was going to be start Lyric, but Junjia's just moving down instead. Overward doesn't care. Flashes the bandage toss. And now with a Cyclone, Betty's sure to die. The cash in. Junjia also a madman. The better jungler for EDG. I'm starting to think so.
EDG wanting to go down towards that bot side. They know Herald's up, right? And they know since Xiaohao isn't around bot, he's going to be looking for that. And they say, hey, we value more trying to get Viper back into this game and preventing the snowball coming out from Betty and QiuQiu. They're able to do that. They're able to get those stacks cashed in and also going to turn this into a dragon. But hey, for AL, the silver lining, at least they were able to get that Rift Herald, since EDG haven't really been able to turn this into any plates.
But they're walking into a trap, and Scout sitting in the brush. Orb of Deception comes through. Yeah, he was spotted out in the tail end as missing pings with Dragon getting taken. Means EDG are still going to find the neutral objective. So Herald, as you talked about, is there. But I'm more wondering about what EDG do next, because Lyric, the bottom lane is mitigated. But is QiuQiu going to go for the all-in? Yes, he is. That ultimate not hitting Viper, though. This is deep. As Junjia gets out from the damage, another cash in. Anyone's legend. You know what? The lead could have brought you back, but now with a double cash in on Viper, Bot is suddenly screwed after the great early game.
And that's the level of aggression we know that comes from AL.
Oh,
QiuQiu, the double-edged sword, running in. We're actually going to go all the way back to this replay, but I would actually love to just see that play we just witnessed again. You hit on it, flashing in to dodge out from the CC to come from QiuQiu. Gets the Cyclone. They lock up Betty, and getting a nice amount of gold onto Viper, picking up the Essence Reaver outright.
Oh, God. And with the cash in as well, like that CS lead means nothing. In fact, I think Viper is now, of course, he's ahead of gold with the items in front of us, but Serrated Dirk on top of that. This Draven now relevant in a game that it shouldn't have been so with the weird jungle start we saw.
It was,
I just can't believe
40
EDG
to
brought us
14
back.
CS?
Yeah.
40 to 14? Like
It was insane. I think it was more, we're getting towards a crest of 50 before Viper was able to get into his 20s. So, Lyric again, you know, even though topside is still going well, I was going to ask you more questions about how EDG set up here with the side lane Jax, with the Draven now having so many kills and being quite ahead with the Dragon stack already beginning.
I feel like for EDG, I'd kind of like to see them just keep up their vision control bot side. They obviously don't really have any top. We've seen ZDZ able to keep pushing in that wave. But if you can maybe push your vision line in bot river a little bit deeper into enemy jungle, get some information on where Xiaohao is, and start planning on how you're going to like play around that Rift Herald charge, that's where I'd want to see EDG succeed. I've already hit on ganking mid numerous times. It doesn't look like that's in the cards for EDG, but the play is still there. Now Forge, of course, does have his flash up, but Scout still has that ult available, and I really want to see EDG make use of this hard CC.
I mean, it's more like Scout is playing the Doomby Xiaohao method. Moving towards his bottom lane is the go, and Scout keeps on threatening, spotted out by a ward, hovers in Fog of War, and EDG feels so safe because they know that they've got their jungle mid sitting as their guardian angels. Viper can go in and get himself yet another piece of turret plating with the immense damage that Betty and Chocho are now feeling. I just can't believe we're at this point.
No, and now EDG bringing Junjia and Scout over to look for this play. Xiaohao is hovering around, so it might be hard to make anything happen, but they might be able to separate them if they're not too close to this turret.
Scout going to be massive. Look at the time here on Forge. At least gives more pressure for Viper to just hit away at the turret as Forge comes on in, but with the Glacial Path, Scout having the Summoner, Forge burns his ulti immediately while EDG's bottom lane gets engaged on. Betty flashing in, but this is an Essence Reaver Draven! One more hit would have done it, but nice job from Xiaohao. A double kill back into the hands of Betty is a good news story for anyone's legend.
And I'm so confused how Viper and Meiko got caught out by Betty and Chocho. I mean, Betty, of course, using the ultimate. Chocho, you have a ton of engage, but EDG's plan, go down towards spot. Force you have to follow. If you can't get the dive on bot, at the very least, you can try and turn and find that pick on mid. Doesn't go to success. Scout gonna try and find Chocho now,
and he's here in the nick of time with the Glacial Path. He gets all three, but he used it to get down here. Scout still delaying the back. There's no vision though, Lyric. As the Whirling Death, it might be in the perfect place. Betty close to dying, and now Scout has an easy angle. All right, Betty coming up. Scout gonna let him back. Are they waiting? The flash ulti, it's a suicide mission to stick around, and Betty had no choice.
Junjia even taking the turret to make sure everything goes smooth and according to plan. But hey, at least Betty and Chocho were able to find those kills before and get a bit of gold back when this was looking incredibly dire after what we've seen Viper and Meiko get. We're going to see here, I mean, also just kind of sticking around too long, right? I don't know what the comms were here, but look at where Scout and Junjia were on the minimap at this point. They knew Xiaohao was around bot side because they spotted him out when those two were hovering down to look for that dive, but not appreciating the fact that the engage can come out.
Well, we've got a turnabout play with Scout, but still, Betty getting some kills now means a Mortal Shield Bow. And it means that anyone's legend can get themselves back on track with the bottom lane lead that they had starting this game off. Lyric, I want to take a moment because bot has been all we talked about. I'm sure it will be everything we talk about. Actually, forget top, forget mid, anything else I was going to say. Look at the minimap.
Yeah, you know, AL heading down towards his bottom side, but Meiko and Viper say, see you later, and they escape. So, you know, not too much going on, but Dragon coming up 4 seconds, Herald coming up soon. With the lead that EDG have been able to found through some of these skirmishes, I'm feeling like they're going to look for this fight in bot side. They're already trying to wrap around to get in a position where they can try and enter river together, but AL already having control of the area.
We don't have Unleashed teleports available from Scout and Flandre on a cooldown here, as the angle would have been nice, but Forge by himself, good little charm with the Everfrost connection. Trying to poke out Junjia. EDG confidently walking into river, but it's Flandre now who joins in with a Divine Sundera, looking for his own type of angle.
Yeah, Flandre going to wait in the bush. They're going to try and draw them in and utilize the fact that he can come off on the flank and look for the counter-strike onto Betty.
Because the sad mummy's there. Look at the counter-strike. Chocho ultis in early. The Fate's Call to save his life, but Junjia is right there with him as Viper's untouched. Forge not contributing too much himself. The needlework, very OP, but it is always more satisfying to see the Gwen die, especially as all of you out there watch EDG clump together and bring that gold lead into a 3K fruition.
And it's kind of crazy that the kills are so heavily in favor of EDG, but the gold, 3K, like respectable lead, but it felt like the reverse last game, right? Kills a little bit closer, but the gold lead was massive. EDG gonna start being able to snowball this one as we see them breaking down the spot turret. And you'd expect they're gonna start making their way towards the top side, right? AL do have tempo coming out from base, considering they died, but actually sending Betty down to catch wave and bot first. So this might even just be in position for EDG to look for this without an answer. A lot of ults are down on both sides. So I'm curious to see if EDG wait these ones out, or if they just feel comfortable going for it, considering they just saw Kalista on the wave.
But we'll look at the replay first. Before we start talking about the waves, I think talk about QiuQiu setting up the engage before TP lands.
Yeah, QiuQiu goes in, and they just didn't have information of Flandre being in that brush, able to get right on top of Xiaohao, lock him down. Yeah. That buys time for Junjia to get the Cyclone back onto Betty, and bam, jungle and AD carry down. Those have been the two members really getting involved in the fights, and especially Betty, right, getting all of the gold on the side of AL. So once he's down, it's up easily for EDG to win the fight, and we can see AL end up not opting into contest this Herald. So EDG, the gold lead, 3K, again, respectable big lead. It's going to start ballooning into 5,000, 6,000 once they drop this Herald.
We've got an Eclipse on the Draven as well. Viper back in charge. It's so funny, the balance has swayed in this AD carry position all game long. But one thing that hasn't really changed is Scout leading through mid. You know, Forge has been the only lane that's been down in CS. He might have caught up, but with those frozen thralls in the last fight, with Scout having a level lead lyric and being able to get close to getting the solo turret on the top side, this Lissandra building the pure damage is going to mean business. As I need to cut myself off because I need to cut myself in. Forge comes in with the Spirit Rush, not sure how that works either, but he makes an attempt with the Everfrost, and Meiko just says no.
Yeah, great job by Meiko. And overall, EDG using this Braum pick very well to make sure that none of AL's shenanigans with how much they like to play these like hard engaged style comps. His Scout now.
Look at the damage. Look at Forge mid. Oh my god. Viper sets up for Junjia to give him a nasty bonk on the head. Viper again as Meiko by inside. QiuQiu goes in. Fate's call is anyone's legend. When they're fighting for playoffs, this team, it doesn't have the same spice to it, the same vibe to it. The early game kaput, and EDG taking everything on the map with anyone's legend. Disappointing a little bit here, Lyric.
I mean, for AL, right? We saw how they did throughout most of the split against lower and middle tier teams. And again, respectable performance. It's why they are competing for a playoff slot. But ever since they're going up against these top dogs, just not able to keep up. We'll see the replay here. Damage comes through. Once the Whirling Death comes out, just so much damage. And Junjia able to get in there to secure that kill. Scout was close to getting picked off at the same time, but had his E, so was able to get away scot-free. And heck, I think we said 1 minute ago that gold lead at 3,000 right now, going to balloon up to 5, 6K. And there we go. 7K gold lead for EDG out of nowhere. Still expanding on that. Baron not even up yet. And I think the craziest thing is looking at the minimap and seeing the vision control. How many wards EDG have down and how little information AL have. Like, my God. Thank you, Observer. Actually kind of panning over AL's vision at the perfect time.
You've got this perfect setup, as you said. And for EDG pushing it to the limit, like Scout is now angling for those little pickoffs as anyone's legend step up into the lane. And Junjia doing the same. They can't move to this mid lane wave. Viper and Meiko are ready. And Lyric, I think the other piece of bad news is that anyone's legend, it's not like they're playing with dragons at this point in the game either.
No, I mean, they really have nothing going for them, right? And especially, even the damage profile that's going to come out, like, you don't exactly have, like, insane scaling. We know Gwen's going to become a monster, but on the same token, like, Jax is going to keep scaling, be able to win in that 1v1. And EDG now just continuing to choke AL out of any vision, making it so they can't walk into their jungle, they can't farm any of their own camps, so they're being denied more resources. And it makes it so EDG can just keep rotating back and forth between these lanes. And the second anyone from AL steps up to answer, that's when a pick's going to come through for EDG.
It's literally like playing Phasmophobia for the first time. You've seen videos, but you don't really understand what's going to happen once you step into the darkness. For EDG, choking out that last line of vision up towards the Baron side means Scout right now, he's going to be lensed, but that ward soon to be taken as with the inner turret, the flash here from QiuQiu. It's EDG trying to commit, but QiuQiu once again doesn't have his team at his back. ZDZ not willing to commit as Flandre just hops on him. The needlework comes out as a defensive tactic, and it's hitting no one as Meiko's ulti superb, and EDG putting on a class act against our still would-be playoff team.
Meiko, like you said, amazing ulti coming through. Dragon's up if they want to go towards third dragon, but it looks like the only thing on the cards for EDG is going to be Baron. Their bot lane making their way over now. Flandre going for the reset. He has TP. Scout has TP. And now, Hysterics, it feels like just a matter of time for EDG snap their fingers. And guess what? are still just fighting for 5th, 6th with Weibo Gaming.
Yeah,
the
they
win,
are.
gonna be a nice confidence boost, though, heading into playoffs.
For fans as well, right? I think for EDG, we talked about some of their problems, like, you know, for JJ being quite passive, for EDG not really bringing it all together. We used to know this team as this insane team-fighting team. I don't feel like we've really had those vibes much this split, but having said that, we are getting some nice team fights in this second game.
I mean, at this point, too, right, they're just so far ahead. Flandre
Yep.
able to find the angle on to ZDZ and then just keep bringing them down. So much CC, and then bam, huge ultimate from Meiko to just make sure everything goes smooth. But going back to your point about this just building confidence for EDG fans, let's remember their last series against WE, again, their bot lane got 2v2 killed by WE's bot lane. Like, we've been seeing struggles like that. Demon solo killed Flandre in that same series. Just like a lot of these like questionable moments coming through for EDG that's like, hey, you would really never expect these to be your issues. So great for them to bounce back against AL. And I mean, heck, this has been one of the most dominant series we've had, you know, like from a top team all split.
It's, even though it didn't start out that way, right? We're going to get AL defending their territory in the top side, but with ZDZ jumping in, good Chocho ulti. This could be the return for anyone's legend, but Viper's still alive. Chocho getting the whirling death of Betty off the back end. Flandre still jumping in, and Viper is a damage source I'm so scared about. As Xiaohao with his Heartbreaker won't get the reset. Viper starts cashing in. More money for him. He is one-shotting people. And it's Viper all the time with his poisonous sting. He'll just take the team fight himself.
I mean, 3 for 3 overall, though, right? AL managing to find something from that skirmish right after we were praising EDG for their dominance in this game. Gwen being left untouched for such a long time felt like the big beneficiary for AL. And for EDG, you hit on it, right? Viper being able to kite out a lot of the engage coming through. We'll go straight into the replay of what happened because EDG wanting to take this turret, but immediately an engage straight onto Meiko. He gets taken down before he's even able to use the ult, which has been such a big tool, which is why AL finds so much value. Flandre able to get in to distract a little bit, and Xiaohao tries his best to jump on Viper. Once Flandre notices, he jumps to his AD carry. They're able to make sure he's safe, and then it looks like Forge and the others not really on the same page. Forge wanting to go in. ZDZ starting to back off.
Oh, look at his damage. I mean, I know, like, as you said, even trade for anyone's legend is good when they're so far behind, but in that last replay lyric, I'm just watching Viper's fancy feet, walking around, you know, all I could say, a bit of Floyd Mayweather vibes coming through from this AD carry. And what do you expect? He's got 19 out of 19 kill participation. It's been around in this game with all the chaos, and Viper is now with an Infinity Edge that 4-item Draven, the one-shot capability, as we saw in the last fight, is going to continue.
2 items above Betty, or I guess 1.5, if you know, if you really want to be a stickler for how many, but which is crazy, right? Just leaning it back into the start of the game where Betty had the like 30 CS advantage. Viper able to make do so much with the cash-ins he's found from the engages, from the skirmishes that EDG have been able to set up. And a lot of it coming down to good choices by EDG to give up that first Rift Herald to double down on getting their bot lane a lead. And now they've just been running home with it. They're going to try and set up a play on this bot lane turret, but not too much range coming through for them, so they're kind of threatening a dive.
I mean, but Chocho with the counter engage, good 4-man ulti, but will it be enough with the Fate's Call? There's no damage done. Needlework is defensive yet again, and anyone's legend are the one that set that up, but are also the ones to retreat.
At the same time, it feels like EDG needing a fight to be able to close out this game. If they can get this mid-wave in, which we can see Junjia's doing now, you can at least pull one member away from the spot side and then potentially look for a dive with numbers advantage, but looks like they might look for it even without.
Oh, it's a flash on in, scout buying time in the middle of everyone. The Frozen Tomb is going to seal down Forge as Flandre jumps in for the victory, and to deny anyone's legend from hitting playoffs today, EDG have made it a little bit personal. AL will still have to make their fight to the top as Edward Gaming are giving us great signs of life here, Lyric. A double kill again as Flandre is just playing with the jungle bot. But as he jumps back in, Xiaohao flashes away, and EDG head on to that next as they've been toying with them here in what feels like a 25-minute back and forth, but an EDG setup that will not soon be forgotten. Their final game of the split done, and EDG locking in 11 wins. We'll have to wait till playoffs to see if this kind of fire returns to the Rift.
Both games, there were some missteps, but overall, incredibly dominant coming out from EDG. Both games, it felt like they were in control pretty much the whole time. Once we hit things like the 10 and 15 minute mark, they'd already amassed 5,000, 6,000 gold leads heading into the mid game, and they were using them quite well, constantly pressuring around, especially this game. How they were choking AL out from their own jungle, controlling vision, and really just denying that information to try and find those picks was beautiful to see. And for EDG, a team that has looked a little bit bruised and beaten in this summer split, I mean, this is exactly the kind of series you want to end on before we go into playoffs.
Even though it was AL, right? AL is a middle-of-the-pack team, and you look at standings, AL is only 2 places under EDG. We know there's a big gap between our teams still yet to lock in, but for EDG, this was a defining game to, again, show us that this team could be capable of making worlds. Lyric, I'm glad you pointed out some of the mistakes within this series. That for EDG is Flandre's playing a BO5. You know, he's just coming back in. But for EDG, on a serious note, to bring you back in, this is a squad that we know their capabilities as a full 5-man unit are unbeatable in the world. Like 2021 kind of showed that. People were like, oh my god, like let's talk about Dumb One again. And then everyone's like, no, look at EDG now. And maybe should it have not gone to a 5-game series? I don't know. Does that make people mad? Yes. But
well, it's kind of funny, right? Because even hitting on the LPL, like when they won Worlds, a lot of people were banking on FPX being the team to do it. Not a lot of people going in having faith in EDG being the one to hoist the trophy. Even for myself, I was predicting RNG to win that Worlds despite the fact that they didn't win the LPL. So EDG have proved people wrong before. They've stepped up when it mattered most, won an LPL final, won a world championship, and they definitely have the talent on paper to be able to do it again. So I'm curious to see what changes they make, and especially if they keep the jungle situation how it is, right? I think one thing that's very clear with how, like in their last series, they used both Junjia and JJ one game, is that it doesn't seem like it is a hard, we are just going to commit to this player if anything goes wrong. We can even think back to last year where JJ had a rough game in the series against WE in summer playoffs, and Junjia came in to finish out that one series, but then they went back to JJ, right? So I think it's kind of cool that EDG have these roster changes available that don't really seem to impact the system or the dynamic of their roster too much. And that goes to the fact that, I mean, despite the fact that Junjia kind of left briefly in spring and went to RA for a little bit, but didn't actually play in the LPL, I mean, Junjia's been with EDG for quite a while. JJ's been with, like this core has been together, and it just seems very comfortable playing with one another.
I remember it was the Clear Love roster where it's like, Clear Love was back. Oh my god. Oh
for
god.
his birthday.
Clear Love no more. Yeah. Kind of like how Wang Sikong on IG, you know, what the president wanted to play, put him in, boys. That still has a 100% win rate, by the way.
And he won, and he won. That's
with
all
Jackie
that
Love's
matters.
support. With Jackie Love's support. That's the 100% win rate I care about. But, Lyric, I will say, my takeaway from this series is that Junjia did work so well with EDG in both games. Trundle, then Wukong. Junjia had a clinic of a series, and I feel like the reason that Viper did so well on his 100% kill participation in a 22-kill game is because Junjia was there to facilitate with Scout.
I just really like the read coming out from EDG, right? Because when we saw we've seen EDG go like in different ways, whether they play around bot or like that small stint heading into Worlds last year where they were actually giving Flandre some attention. But this series, it was going back to basics, going back to bot lane, which not only is the strength